What's good, y'all? It's KJ with the Urban Fruit Forest, back with another video for you guys today. I'm really excited about this one because it's the start of a new series we'll be starting on this channel on how to grow your own dragon fruit from cutting to fruit, part 1. So before we get started in this, I'm gonna just ask for you guys to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Also, go ahead and follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I have the handles down below in the description. Let's get started. All right, before we get started, I'm about to just go through a quick list of a few things we'll be needing before we get going. So first and foremost, you're gonna need some gardening shears, some tying tape to go ahead and tie these across this trellis that we'll be needing. A lot of you guys may not know how to build this trellis system. I'll be doing a video later on how to build a trellis system, so you can go ahead and get started on this. You're gonna need a 25-gallon pot, some loose, organic, rich potting soil. I made this at home with earthworm castings, chicken manure, and then a bunch of compost that I had packed up in the corner. And most importantly, we will be needing some mature dragon fruit cuttings. Emphasis on mature. You're going to really want to make sure that these cuttings have roots and they're already established before you go out and get them into the sun. And I'm going to explain a little bit more why as this video continues. Alright, so first thing you're going to want to do is get this trellis, set it nice and firm in the middle of this pot. You're going to want to get this trellis nice and firm. I already went ahead and got some soil in it so I can go ahead and build a base around it, because you're going to want this to be. One thing I want to show you guys before we get started is the trellis system that I just showed you did not have a top on it. This top is very important. In the next video of the series, I will have the top, and I will also show you guys how to make this top. But I currently do not have it, and it's not really important in the beginning part of this stage. So just wanted to let you guys know that, and let's get going. Really firm, really secure. So when these dragon fruit branches start to grow, they start to get really heavy. So you're going to want to go ahead and make sure this gets really secure. It's a little crooked, but it'll work. Next, you're going to want to take this soil, start to fill your 25-gallon pot up. I just want to go ahead and emphasize that you really want this soil to be well draining and very rich in nitrogen. Dragon fruit don't really like wet feet. They like water, but their roots don't really like to sit in a pool of water. So you really want to make sure that your soil has some sort of amenities to make sure that it's draining well, but still very rich in nutrients. So we're going to go ahead and fill this up. Filling your 25-gallon pot up, don't fill it up all the way prior to getting the cuttings in there. We're probably going to want it about 3/4 of the way high up, probably 2/3 of the way. You want to make sure you give enough space for these cuttings to go ahead and get situated, but also so that the water doesn't pool out of the pots. I went ahead and got this about 2/3 of the way full. Level this soil out. Alright, now let's talk about these cuttings and why I said it's really important to make sure that your cuttings are mature. Alright, now that we went ahead and made sure we got our pot 2/3 of the way full, right? I just want to go ahead and elaborate on your cuttings. Please make sure that your cuttings have roots established on them. They've been acclimated to outside prior to getting them in these 25-gallon pots. If you don't know how to root your cuttings, I'll be doing a video on this channel as well that will get documented and into the description down below on how to get your cuttings to root very well, just like this. So now let's go ahead and get these into the pot. So what you're going to want to do is, so now let's get our cuttings into this pot. So when we're getting these cuttings into this pot, right, we're not going to want to dig very deep because, like I said, these plants don't like to sit in a pool of water. Their roots just like to get into the water, and once the roots are into the soil, this part doesn't really need to be much into the soil. As long as the roots are in the soil, this plant will thrive. So we just don't want to dig a little bit. Remember, like I said, you don't want any of this part into the soil because it will rot once you start to water it a lot. So we're just going to go ahead and get this covered. tape. You're gonna want to grab that tape that I told you about. Mine looks a little bit messy because my son got his hands onto it, but still get the job done. If you'll notice, all of my cuttings have roots on them. They've all been established and acclimated to outside. Prior to me getting them out here in the sun, you want to dig a little hole. Remember, like I said, you really don't want this cutting to have much of its flesh in the soil. You just want to cover it up like that. Just cutting. That one actually stayed up, so I'm not going to tie it yet. I can just throw one on here and then tie them all up together. By the way, this variety is called American Beauty. It's a self-fertile variety, really sweet. When I say self-fertile, what I'm pretty much saying is this plant does not need the pollen of another variety in order to bear fruit. It could bear fruit by itself. All it just needs is a little help from some pollinators. One of my favorite varieties, really sweet, really big size. Can't really go wrong with this variety. I have a few available on the website as the season goes on. Some tape. These all tied and taped up to this trellis because this plant loves to climb. Tied up a little bit more. I want to see the mess my son made, but it still works. That's cool. Tied up here. So believe it or not, the hard part's done. Go ahead and take my garden shears and clip off the extra pieces of tie that we have left. Into that bag. Go ahead and clip this off. Alright, so let's go ahead and show you guys what we have so far. We got our 4 cuttings in a 25-gallon pot, loose, well-draining soil. Make sure that when you got these cuttings into the pot that the stem's not very much into the soil. If you look, I don't have much stem into the soil, mainly roots. So now that we got the hard part done, you got them tied up to the trellis so that they could climb up. Still missing the top part. I will have this in part 2, so don't worry about that. Now I'm gonna just show you guys how I go ahead and top dress my pots and get them well watered and situated. Actually, we got 2 more things you guys will be needing. You'll also be needing some earthworm castings that I like to pour on the top of my pots. It's a nice little fertilizer, all natural organic fertilizer that these plants actually love. So I go ahead and pour like about half an inch to an inch on the top of all my new pots. They love this stuff. And most importantly, it's some mulch. You can never go wrong with mulch. Mulch keeps the temperature of the pot cool when it gets really hot and warm when it gets really cold, which we don't see very often over here in Central Florida. But mulch is very, very, very important. It helps with watering. It makes you have to, not make you, but you have to water your plants a lot less. So what I like to do is go ahead and put an inch of mulch around the outside parts of my pots. Remember, like what I said, they don't really like to sit in wet soil. They don't like to sit in a pool of water, so you can go ahead and put mulch. Just make sure that your pots are very well draining. Just get this outside layer. Not so close to the stems. Once you get that mulch on there, we're gonna go ahead and get this watered. Where the water hose at? Found the water hose. So now we just gonna go ahead and water our pot in very well. And that's pretty much the end of the video. Before you guys get going, I'm gonna just ask that you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. If you like the content, go ahead and comment and like on this video also. And also, if you haven't followed us on our social media platforms, the handles will be down below in the description. I really appreciate you guys checking into this video. Part 2 will be coming soon. Thanks.